Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to show quite an amazing tarot deck that was published earlier this year by Scarabeo. That is the Surrealist Tarot, and this was created by the artist Luigi di Giammarino. I'll say that again, Luigi di Giammarino. Here is the box. And I have waited many years for a Surrealist Tarot. I have been a fan of Surrealist art for decades, and I was always hoping that Surrealist Tarot would be created, but I also thought that the company to do so was likely to be Scarabeo, because they are an art tarot company. So I'm so pleased that this has been created. So here is the box, and the little white book is quite interesting with this deck too. It gives a really good background introduction to the Surrealist art movement. And for people who don't know, the Surrealist art movement began in about 1924, and it began with a Surrealist manifesto, which was written by the poet Andre Breton. And this manifesto, this is the philosophy underpinning the Surrealist art movement. And it was very much inspired by the dream psychoanalysis of Sigmund Freud. So a lot of these artists who started creating the art of the Surrealist art movement were trying to capture dream images and depicting images about the subconscious and the unconscious. This little white book is quite interesting, and it's quite good. It's got a really interesting spread in here called the Surreal Vision. I really like the spread. It's got it's got quotes with a lot of the major arcana cards, and they are quotes from quite well-known artists from the and poets from the Surrealist art movement. These are the people like Salvador Dali is the most well-known, Max Ernst, Rene Magritte, and also Frida Kahlo. A lot of people may not realise that Frida Kahlo was one of the handful of female Surrealist artists as well. There aren't that many images in here from Frida Kahlo's work, but there is one card I'm going to show that actually depicts Frida Kahlo in here. This deck is not really a divination deck. You can use it for that, but I think a lot of the images will not necessarily lend themselves, for example, to the weight system. Some of the images do, but at least half of the images don't really lend itself to tarot quite as, conventionally as you would imagine, quite as specifically as you would imagine. This type of deck is really more for self-reflection and self-development, and I think it'll be really good for dream work as well. Now to show some cards that I particularly like. Here's the back of the cards. I love the back of the cards as well. It has a star tetrahedron on here. So I love the back of the cards, and I love the colours. And the cardstock is your basic Scarabeo cardstock. but it's relatively flexible and sturdy. So now to start with some of the cards from the Major Arcana. Here is the Fool. The Major Arcana cards are more like the tarot system, but the Minor Arcana are all scenic pips, but I think some people would have trouble with some of the images relating to the Waite-Smith system. High Priestess. This is taken from, the main image is taken from a Salvador Dali painting. The Empress. The Surrealist art movement greatly influenced the much later fantasy art genre as well. The Emperor, which is Sigmund Freud, who inspired the whole Surrealist art movement. He was actually originally a psychiatrist. He was an Austrian psychiatrist, so he was a qualified medical practitioner who then was the father of the founder of psychology. Psychology, the whole idea of psychoanalysis branched out of medical psychiatry. And of course he's known as a colleague of Carl Jung. And Carl Jung actually did some training with Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is the founder of psychoanalysis and dream analysis. Sigmund Freud as the Emperor. The Chariot. This is taken from the painting by René Magritte. I love the Justice card. It's kind of representing the divine laws, the divine law, justice. Now this is my interpretation of this card, and to me this represents the souls passing in and out of incarnation. There are general descriptions of the cards in the Little White Book, but they are not detailed descriptions. But that, I think, opens up individual interpretation of the cards, which is what this deck is really about. It's really about opening the mind. So Justice. Now, here is a depiction. This is Strength. This is Frida Kahlo and her husband, Diego Rivera, who was also a Surrealist painter, but he was more of a muralist. He painted wonderful murals that were more about political issues. But Frida Kahlo was more of a Surrealist artist. So that's Strength. Hanged Man. It's a beautiful Hanged Man card. Temperance. Love this card. The Devil, which is Dali himself. The Moon. I love this card. It's in Judgment. Now for the Minor Arcana, this is the usual Wands, Cups, Swords and Pentacles. So here is the Ace of Wands. So you can see the greenery of the tree representing the wand at the top, towards the top of the cup. Three of Wands. I'm showing the Minor Arcana cards that are particularly more similar to the Waite-Smith system, but as I was saying, at least half of the Minor Arcana is not. So Three of Wands. Five of Wands. I love this. You have these wooden artist model little statuettes. Five of Wands. And Page of Wands. Now for Cups. It's the Ace of Cups. Three of Cups. I like this. It's almost, this is bordering more on the later fantasy art that branched out of surrealist art. The figure in the middle is basically a humanoid type of figure. That's the Three of Cups. love the Seven of Cups. The colours in this deck are quite beautiful too. And the Queen of Cups, it's like an underwater image, submerged. Queen of Cups. Now for Swords. Ace of Swords. Now you can see by this card that it's not really a sword image. So it's more of a monolith or a stony sword, if you want to look at it, think of it like that. But this deck really does open up thought and imagination. Two of Swords. So I like the pendulum type of thing here. Two of Swords. Now this Four of Swords is quite a RWS image. We have the Knight here. It's quite a Rosicrucian type of image. Four of Swords and Queen of Swords. So this is a card to me that's quite a bit, it's really, it seems to me to be about persona. Now for Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles. Quite like this card. I think these cards would be really good for journaling too. Four of Pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles. I really love this card. Could be my favourite card of the whole deck. So that's some of the cards from the Surrealist Tarot. It's really a tribute deck to the Surrealist artists and the whole Surrealist art movement. And Luigi di Giammarino has created at least 2 other decks for Lo Scarabeo. One of them is Tarot of Metamorphoses. I think that's on my tarot deck review playlist. And the other one is Dream Cards, and I'm fairly sure that is also on my Oracle deck review playlist. And the Dream Cards have recently been republished. And I just think this deck is just so well done, and I have waited so long for a Surrealist Tarot, and this has got to be one of my favourite decks now, because I have wanted a Surrealist Tarot for so long, and because it is so well done, it's really quite beautiful and thought-provoking to look at. And I am really looking forward to doing quite a bit of reflection work and inner work with this deck. So anyone who would like something a bit different and who is a fan of the Surrealist art movement like I am, I recommend this deck. So it is different, but it is not a divination deck really, as I was saying. You could try to use it as a divination deck, but I think you'd have to be very familiar with the images, in the way that a lot of these images have hidden meanings. Some of them are not easily apparent, so that's another reason why it's not really an easy deck to choose for divination. It really is designed more for inner work and reflection and dream work, because that's what these artists, that's what these images are really about. So that's the Surrealist Tarot by Luigi di Giammarino, and I'll put some details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.